So today we're going to be talking about ARIT, and thanks for joining us today. And ARIT stands for Asset Recovery in IT, a really original name there. So in simple terms, ARIT is about helping law enforcement take money and assets away from criminals and put the value back into the policing and public services. And it links directly into the Proceeds of Crime, or POCA, which is a vital piece of legislation that exists to make sure crime doesn't pay. And I'm really pleased today to be joined by Shane Baker, who's been closely involved in the ARIT project over the past few months and is helping to bring this position into today. We'll start by setting some context around asset recovery and why it matters. But before moving to what ARIT is and how it works and what organisations do next, as always, please use that chat and we'll come to them as we go through. So, Shane, before we talk about the technology itself, perhaps it's important we remind ourselves about the proceeds of crime, what it covers and why it's so important today. And it basically sets up to recover assets that have been gained through criminal activity, and it allows all law enforcement agencies, not just policing, to confiscate assets following a criminal conviction, to seize cash, and importantly, to apply for civil recovery, even where cases where there's no criminal conviction. So in practice, asset recovery can be a slow and complex process, particularly when the criminal court cases are ongoing and POCA activity happens later on in the justice process. But ARIT is focused on that strengthening that asset recovery and not just cash. So the full range of assets that criminals build up, and those assets can be recovered and turned into funding, which is ultimately reinvested back into policing and law enforcement. So with that in mind, let's bring Shane in. So why does asset recovery matter so much to our communities and law enforcement agencies?
Thanks, Dave. So I guess simply asset recovery matters because it has such a direct impact on disrupting that criminal activity. It's really important to ensure that crime doesn't pay and to ensure that we continue to negatively impact criminals financially. And this means that asset recovery is a really good weapon for us, which prevents criminals benefiting from crime, and it contributes towards the prevention of future crime. I guess another area which is crucial around recovery of assets is that it sees significant reinvestment back into policing and other law enforcement. And the more we recover, the better our services are. There are benefits which see improvements into our communities, funds for designing out crime, for example, and most crucially, it supports lost finances being given back to victims of crime, which in turn goes to strengthen public confidence. And personally, I can't really think of another area of policing which is as symbiotic to the public as asset recovery.
And this goes up to visible justice processes. When I was back in force, some of the best things you could do was to load an expensive car onto the low loader out of the driver of a criminal, and those sort of seize the cash, seize the assets, seize the large TVs, and disrupt their personal lives as well as their criminal lives is a really visible sign that policing is active and law enforcement is active in our communities. So we have spoken, of course, we do, of course, already have some systems in place. So the obvious next question is, why does the current system need to change and be decommissioned? And what are the key things people should understand about the new ARIT approach?
So there are limitations of the existing system. JARD, so the Joint Asset Recovery Database, whilst it's been good for us for a number of years now, it is an outdated system. It's based on outdated architecture, and this presents a number of challenges, like keeping up with modern demand. For example, it was developed before the Proceeds of Crime Act, and therefore there are workarounds in the current system. And ARIT Asset Recovery IT is a legislatively compliant evolution of JARD, and it's not a like-for-like replacement for the system directly. Whilst there are drivers to replace the current system due to its age, we also need to develop it to meet today's operational demands and to be fully compliant with POCA.
And of course, there's the modern data standards, the modern technology, cloud infrastructure, and the wider data and digital strategy that it all needs to connect into. And that's what the project's been set up to do itself. So let's move on to the project itself. And Shane, could you explain what the ARIT project is? Because it's more than just a system, and what the problem has been designed to solve. It's been designed to solve.
Sure. So ARIT is the technology arm of the wider Home Office anti-money laundering and asset recovery program. So AMLAR for short, less of a mouthful. So ARIT is the building of technology to improve data sharing and to increase efficiency for our users involved in asset recovery. The ARIT project will create a new solution to be delivered by Police Digital Service to replace JARD, and it's being built and delivered through a commercially available solution as part of the AMLAR programme. So primarily the system supports policing, the National Crime Agency, Crown Prosecution Service, His Majesty's Courts and Tribunals and Revenue and Customs Services and local authorities. However, the scope of the project is really vast. It's got thousands of users across all UK law enforcement and beyond. There are over 200 agencies who currently use JARD, and it will ultimately be transitioned onto the new solution. With regards to what it's designed to solve, think of the system as a ledger to track asset seizures, ensure correct accounting, and be able to track a case throughout its life cycle, which in some cases can be extremely complex and take years and even in some cases decades to conclude.
Absolutely. And this isn't just about policing and the traditional law enforcement agencies. This could be used for anywhere where proceeds of crime or the civil recovery aspect comes. So things that people don't normally think about, the agencies will support are quite wide and varied. Perhaps you give us an example of some of the agencies beyond policing who will be using the news platform.
Yeah, sure. So some of the agencies beyond policing are environment agencies. The post office, for example, it's a good example of private industry, and this just speaks to how wide-reaching the program is.
So let's have a look at actually what he will do, Ari, in terms of this. So what will actually do for the enforcement agencies, including those other authorised bodies, and perhaps what are the benefits of it?
Sure. So with regards to what ARIT's actually going to do, it allows us to create and manage our asset recovery cases. It will be able to record all types of seizures, orders, confiscations and disposals. It will generally support all POCA related activity, and it allow us to manage ARIS funding and report accordingly as well. With regards to some of the benefits of the new approach, so the new system will have improved usability, having been designed with government digital service, so GDS standards in mind. This is a set of standards which exist for government services to ensure that consistency and compliance is in place. There will be better visibility of asset recovery activity, including role-based access controls, meaning that you'll see what's relevant for your role. There'll be support for multiple agencies, and the system will be more secure and have more efficient POCA compliant processes baked in.
So a huge change in the way we work. It'll mean it's easier to use, more assets recovered, and everything that we really need this to do. And for those already involved in asset recovery and POPA work, the detail really does matter on this. So can you actually give us an overview of some of the functional improvements that users can expect to see compared to the current system and platform that we've got at the moment?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you some high level. I won't labour the point because it can get really technical. As for anyone who's ever gone through the Proceeds of Crime Act will speak to, I'm sure, how challenging that legislation can be. But essentially, what our users can expect is easier access and management of their data, including support for other asset types such as cryptocurrencies, improved reporting capability, reduced duplication, and better support for collaboration across agency as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So just in terms of, I suppose the big question now is when's it happening and what do the forces and law enforcement agencies need to be doing now to get prepared? And I think we need to jump to a couple of slides, and one more slide forward, please.
Yeah, no problem. I'll take you through a high-level timeline. So looking at our key milestones there, you can see that the project initiation occurred back in September 24. That comprised of a lot of discovery work that took place at the time to understand the current landscape, what was needed, why we needed to change, etc. Tender was published back in January 25. Supplier was onboarded October 25, and we're now firmly in 2026, as we're all aware, in the build phase of the solution. Now, there is significant configuration and build going on with the system, largely because of what I mentioned earlier, the various avenues that you can go down with regards to the Proceeds of Crime Act, and to bake that into a system is no small task. But between now and March 27, which is our target time for transition to ARIT, there is this significant change journey that we all need to go on as agencies, and that is comprised of engaging your respective teams, gaining technical access, user testing, confirming your readiness, training your staff to feel ready, and then moving towards sustainment of outcome, and then taking feedback and improving. One of the benefits that I could have said previously actually was because of this cyclical nature of asset seizure, we actually have the ability for continuous improvement in the new system as well. And you know, this graphic that you can see in front of you speaks to phase one, but certainly the ability for future phases are absolutely there. As you can see, with such an aggressive schedule to development and rollout, I'd like to stress the importance of early engagement as well. So this isn't a wait and see program, and if you are a SPOC within your agencies, it's important that you know who your agency change engagement lead is, and that you're working together to ready yourselves for the crucial and successful deployment of ARIT.
So a number of colleagues will have been involved in the discovery phase from different agencies, but this, people might say, well, if it's not going live till next year, why are we getting involved now? It is because we need to be ready. There's a lot of work across a huge number of agencies who are all going to be dependent on this platform moving forward. So now's the time to start that engagement so that we can deliver it on time, and exactly where we need to start realizing some of the benefits that we've already discovered. So Shane, in terms of how people can get involved, perhaps you could explain to us what information is available, how you access it, and some of it is restricted, so there is a gateway into it, isn't there? So perhaps you could explain about the Knowledge Hub and the approach that we're taking in terms of engaging with all the agencies.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Well, one of the challenges with the scope as vast as this is how do we engage with the sheer volume of agencies and users for the existing system, and how do we ready everybody for the transition in a way that you all feel supported through the journey. And we've created a dedicated section on the Police Digital Service Knowledge Hub to achieve that. It's open to all law enforcement and all existing JARD agencies, so not just policing. Fairly revolutionary in our use of the system, which historically has been locked down for policing, but we've opened the access for this very purpose, to achieve what we need to achieve here. And that site includes clear guidance on ARIT and key updates on the progress of the programme. I guess it's important to also know that you can contact the PDS ARIT Business Change team directly as well via email, and that's aritbusinesschange@pds.police.uk.
Thanks, and we'll go on to a little bit more detail about that. So we can move on to the next slide, and we'll drop some links into the chat and make it available to you. The next slide basically gives you an overview of those email addresses. But let's just play this video, which actually explains how to navigate the Knowledge Hub. So for a lot of colleagues will be already familiar with the knowledge hub working policing, but in terms of it is a confidential based platform with access managed to it, and you'll be able to have access through that through the link that we've popped into the chat. And if we go back one slide, it will again give you the details of where you can find all those informations. We have had a couple of questions and comments coming in, and one of the questions is from our British Transport colleagues about a technical SME for the implementation of ARIT. What sort of support will be available in that sort of phase, Shane?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, this is both a technical program and a business change program, as most large programs are these days, I guess. And so the project very much is made up of both technical resource and raw business change resource. I can see Reese, who's commenting in the chat there. So Reese is our change specialist, and he coordinates the wider change management team. The other side of the program there is that we've got a technical project manager who will control the technical resource and be able to help your agency understand the respective requirements for onboarding. That is also done through your business change lead. So again, feel free to reach out via the details that are there, both in the chat and in the presentation there, and the respective change officer for your agency will do that heavy lifting for you and put the right resources in touch.
Thanks. And again, if you have any queries, now I know a lot of people will share this video with their colleagues, so please do use that email address or head over to the PDS website, search for ARIT, and you'll be taken through to all the knowledge and this recording so you can do this. So please make sure that even if this doesn't directly affect you, but you know colleagues who will be impacted by this, please do share that on. I can't see any more questions right now, but I want to thank Shane, Reese and the team, Sonia, for supporting in making sure this goes out there. I'm sure we'll come back to this in the next few weeks and months as we go through this to give further updates. There's one more question just popped in there about will current cases on JAR transfer over to ARIT, or will there be any casework the owner needs to do?
Yeah, so I can do my best at answering that one. So there's a very specific data migration strategy, and for those on the call that have been involved in large programs migrating from older systems into new, data migration is always an area of concern and complexity. So resources have been involved specifically looking at data migration from the very early stages of this program, and clearly you're going to need to be able to conduct your business on your cases within the new system, so it's absolutely within scope.
Thanks. And I know there's another question there. That one we'll probably deal with separately to do it, but lots of more information available on the Knowledge Hub about the sort of technical details that are going to be required. Just move on to slide 16 now, and I want to thank Shane again for covering that. There's always things going on in the Police Digital Service in terms of being kept up to date with what's going on. So please, if you're not normally used to watching these webinars, subscribe to make sure you get the updates when there's a webinar going on. We cover a wide range of things, not just for policing, and the YouTube video as well. Please subscribe to YouTube. We're trying to increase our subscription so we can turn on some additional functionality when we get there. And if we go to the next slide, we've got some other engagement opportunities coming up in the very near future. If we can just move, oh, we've missed us. It's obviously not working. We are going to be at the Modernising Criminal Justice. Go back one mic. Taking this conference later on this year. So if you are attending that, we'll have some colleagues along there. You can ask questions about ARIT and other work that we're doing at the moment. So just be able to help out with doing that. And of course, the Emergency Technology Show. And importantly, the Police Digital and Innovation Summit taking place in October. But head over to the events page on the PDS website where all those details are held. Thanks both for sharing that knowledge today. And look forward to joining us in the next couple of weeks if we can roll those closing credits, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks a lot.